Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm sitting down again with Dr. Dune today, and this time he's going to interview me and give you a little, so we can give you a little information from my point of view for the upcoming campaign, Neural Nexus Zero. Doc, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me again, and when you're ready.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute pleasure. Like I said, you've heard from all of us other cast members, and now we're excited to hear from the Nexus admin himself. And just to start off, do you have a favorite tabletop system you like to play with? Is there one you prefer to play or DM?
So I've been using predominantly throughout my TTRPG career, like a 3.5 and Pathfinder variants. Pathfinder to me, my personal group, we used it for a long time, and we used it up until last year when our group we had to go separate ways for a little bit. There's actually talk about getting together now, but I don't know if I have the bandwidth. But Pathfinder to me, a lot of people see it as a complicated system, but I've been using it so long, it doesn't feel complicated to me. I like the system, but now with us getting into this campaign using Savage Worlds and the Interface Zero system, I am coming to like this system a lot because it seems like it's slimmed down. It seems like it's simplified to the fact for things. They just flow a lot better. It seems like when we do things like combat, we're not going to get bogged down in it, and there's a low barrier for entry. We have some new people new to TTRPG on the show, and this is going to be a great way for them to get their feet wet, and especially using Fantasy Grounds where there's so much automation once you get your character built. I'm really excited about using Savage Worlds.
Oh, very good. Yeah, absolutely. Having that for new players is so much more help to them, and it just helps them get in without being just bouncing off the surface of tabletop. And it's always great to have more people in that sort of world.
Right.
And more people to play with.
Yeah, it's such a great community. Adding people into that community it's just a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, how did you get into tabletops yourself? Was it with Pathfinder in 3.5, or is there something further back?
A little further back than that. Pathfinder was not in existence when I started getting gaming.
Wow.
When I was young in first grade, I got passed all the way to the fourth grade without being able to read. I was dyslexic, and I was in school at a time when nobody really cared. So when I got to fourth grade, I finally got a teacher who cared, realized I couldn't read. And what they did is they had an after school program that they ran, and it was basically playing, I don't even remember which variant it was, honestly. But they would play D&D with like a student group there so that the kids can learn math skills and critical reading skills and like logic. And he taught me a couple techniques for reading with my disability, and I grew to love reading. And but that was my barrier. That was my entry into TTRPGs.
Oh, that's very good. It's actually a very wholesome story. That
it is.
Being able to learn through the method of TTRPG. And I'm just glad that you've kept it all this way up to your second large. Your second large show, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So outside of tabletop, have you done any role playing, for example, LARPs or just day to day, like any sort of characters?
I have. So I have a lot of nerdy friends. We all grew up together, but they tended to do a lot. They did a lot of LARPing when I was younger, and I didn't get to go with them much, but like the first time I went with them, I got to play an NPC, and I believe it was a goblin. They hand me these two short swords, which are supposed to represent the goblin's claws and their weapons. And I've done martial arts for a long time, so I was pretty comfortable with having these weapons, even though they were like horribly balanced or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was swinging for 2 damage, not like 10 damage like the players were. I got massacred by the players, but they had like their spells, and I just didn't have the time to commit to that. So I did that a couple times. I NPC'd a couple times. It was a really good time because I really got into it, and I think the players enjoyed that somebody was coming and playing an NPC and still having fun. The flip side of that coin is I really enjoy airsoft. So while it's not typically thought of as role playing, it is exactly that. You're going out in the woods. It's essentially playing with guns like like you were a kid.
Yeah.
And especially in Europe, there's a lot of big mass scale battles where they reenact like different fights from World War II, World War I, Vietnam, and people hit up exactly with period weapons. And I mean, if that's not role play, I don't know what the hell is, So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's down from just those little skirmishes where you pretend you're a soldier, all the way up to stuff like that, like war reenactment, famous battles, and I forget what the specific name is, but there's a very famous airsoft event where they take on personas from the video game series Stalker.
Yep.
And you can play, and everyone speaks Russian. You get shot, you're out.
Yep.
You can be from any of the different factions within that game, and it is just one big LARP session, but with guns.
But with guns, yeah. And nobody gets hurt.
It's a lot of fun.
That bad, so.
Yeah, so with that in mind, what aspect of tabletops do you enjoy the most? Do you prefer playing to DMing, or is there a specific part of each that you prefer to do?
So, up until a couple years ago, I would say the combat was my favorite thing. And I don't even know what the turning point was. Maybe it's just that I did so much of the combat over so many years, became, rote. But I'm really digging the RP now and like figuring out a story. And I think that has a lot to do with the people that I've GM under have put a lot. They put a lot of time into building the world up. So there was just more than you're running a line down through a story. So my previous GM he volunteered to DM because he was like, I have a story I want to tell, and that's kind of how I got into this campaign is a story I've wanted to tell for years. So now is my chance. It's different as a player compared to a DMing. Like I enjoy DMing because I get to play a lot of characters, but I'm excited to play. I'm going to be in another campaign coming up on the channel, and I'm actually going to get to play a player. And the thing I like about that is I'm going to be able to invest, into a single character and build up, his story and just commit to that for that session. So, or the total arc of the story. So it's I enjoy DMing for what it is, and I enjoy being a player for what for that is for two very different reasons. So
yeah, that's very good. I'm always a big fan of campaigns where it's not just introduction fight and every session. I like a session where I can just play. We don't even have a fight for the day, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. You can just spend the entire day investigating or just talking with your other players,
running down clues, or just
perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
Figuring or just relaxing in the tavern, having a good day,
and just talking.
Have some downtime.
Absolutely.
And that's a perfectly fine session to run. There doesn't have to be an encounter every time.
The way to put it best is it doesn't have to be epic every single time.
Absolutely.
Because if that's the case, then you lose. The epic becomes the normal, and how do you escalate it at that point?
Yeah.
So
there's a reason slice of life is a genre.
Because
people enjoy it. Yeah.
Right.
So going off of that's enough backstory. How do you feel about your new baby, Neural Nexus Zero? How do you feel about the setting of the campaign? How did you come upon that?
I'm really excited about this. This is going to be it's going to have a little bit of like prefab campaign mixed in to facilitate some stuff, but for the most part, it's going to be homebrew. I am so excited to tell the story, and this when we start to play this and the community starts to see it, and you guys as players start to see that it's not your typical I'm having a blast, like my characters are out there swinging their sword and like they're the hero and the champion and stuff. Like, you guys are going to be put in very difficult situations where it's very gray. There's a lot of shades of gray in this world. So it's more of a noir than opposed to a heroic fantasy campaign.
Very good.
I'm so excited to tell this story.
So, have you ever played something like this before? Because it's very far flung from the fantasy and Pathfinder you've been playing before. Have you ever played or run a cyberpunk adventure before?
I've never run one, but I played in a D20 Modern campaign probably 10 years back that my friend Jim ran, and it was a lot of fun. However, I made a very bad choice of character in that game. I essentially made the bouncer martial artist in the gun game, so it was not a great choice.
All right.
But it was a cyberpunk world, and we made do. I got a tower shield, and I threw grenades. I was really good at that. So
that's oh yeah.
I had
Grenadier, great.
Full cover, and I would just huck grenades outside of it. So
that's how you use a shield, definitely.
Yep. And it was a really fun campaign. Actually, Jim has been one of my favorite dungeon masters throughout my life. I've been in a couple of his campaigns, and looking at things, I've learned a lot from him, and it's going to be I kind of use that in the tabletop tavern, and now I get to apply that to Neural Nexus Zero. So
very good. How did you decide on specifically Boston as the city for it and the time period?
So
go on.
As we discussed the other day, I mean, people tend to take a little bit of themselves from their characters and build that into the characters, mixed with like the things that they don't know, right? So Boston is familiar to me. I thought it would be cheating a little because I know so much about the surrounding area that it would be easy for me to paint a picture of that, because I know I've built about 60 locations so far within that world. And, I've reached out to my friends, and, because I'm from New England. I grew up 25 months outside of Boston. I spent my youth in the city, and I still go back every year for PAX East. And, but, talking to my friends about, what important landmarks to us growing up and how I can add those in the world. Now, that's the world building aspect of it, is being able to take, okay, so, like, you guys could be like, I'm looking for X, Y, Z. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I can grab this little piece that I built and push, and provide this as, the solution there. So I like to set myself up for success because I'm better at prepping ahead of time than I am at coming up with it on the fly. And we should all play to our strengths. So that's how I do a lot of what I do. So.
Yeah, it's very good. People are better at different things. If you're better at improv, feel free. But like I said, having a good arsenal is a very good strategy.
Correct.
And I, for one, am extremely excited to walk through your city, walk through your childhood, and see how you've twisted it to make this story happen, and see what might have been a great landmark, see how it's been twisted into this cyberpunky world.
Yeah, and that's a great way to do it, because you take something. And it has like such great memory attached to it, and then you're like, how can I pervert this to make it better? You know what I mean? So
yeah. Is there any details you can give us? Anything you're really excited to share with the people and myself?
So without ruining the story, this is going to be a noir. It's going to be dark. There's going to be a lot of shades of gray, but the overall feel of the campaign, it's going to feel very oppressive. There's an Orwellian sense of or Orwellian level of surveillance going on in the world that you typically don't see in a fantasy campaign. So our players are going to have, they're going to have the skills to work within that system, but they're going to have to find their rhythm as a party to do so. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of shades of gray. Typically in like a fantasy campaign, it's like, this is the good guys and these are the bad guys. In this campaign, it's like, okay, we have to survive. How can we do that with staying true to the characters? You know what I mean? So
absolutely,
it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm very excited to see how everything plays out, how the different characters play out together, and knowing how their basic backstories go. Yeah. I'm just very excited to see what happens, and I'm sure everyone else is too. Finally, how did you go on about deciding the cast members? How did you choose who was going to be in this new wonderful world and this wonderful 2-year-old story that you're going to tell?
Excellent. So when I got the idea for the Tabletop Tavern, I had a lot of really good people around me, and I handpicked and I cherry picked for different reasons. Like I picked one person because they didn't have experience in TTRPG. I picked another one because they had a lot of experience in TTRPG and were a good role player. I took another person because he has a great comic aspect to him that just flew off naturally, and I knew that would mesh well with the other people. And then there was another person with a medium experience, and they bonded really well. We brought the people together as a group, and they clicked really good. So those personalities fit together. So I wanted to use the same kind of formula here. We have a person who's brand new to tabletop RPGs, but is a phenomenal role player. Loken plays. He plays a character on his stream every single day. And seeing, congratulations on partner Loken. But he has, he has cultivated this character and he lives it. It's not, it comes off so natural. So I can't wait to see how he does that in this campaign. We have, Paul, the Astropub, that does the exact same thing, but he's been role playing. He's been doing TTRPG for a long time. So he brings both of those aspects to it. You know what I mean? We have Brian, who I met last year at PAX, and we've just he asked me at the time, because at the time I was formulating Tabletop 1 and I didn't have room for him at that. I said, but hang around, stay in contact, and if we have the room, we have the room for the next campaign. And he was around, and he has experience in TTRPG, and he's putting in the work, and it's a wonderful thing. Yourself, you've been part of the community. You've been helping us run, Tabletop Tavern 1. You moderate for us, and if I ask for help, you're willing to step up, and you have the RPG experience, and you have the personality it's going to lend really well to to this world. And then we have
so kind.
And then we have Cycler Jack, who's been playing for a long time, and he's gonna be able to help and mold, help everybody else, as a party, be that Papa Bear type figure, So, I think as a whole, all your personalities are gonna mesh really well. As players, your characters might have some static and conflict, but that just makes for a good story. So I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, well, I think that's just about it for me. So I'll hand it back over to you, and I look forward to seeing you all in the Nexus.
So one last thing, and Doc just said it, the Nexus. The Nexus is going to be it's going to be a main plot point for the entire world. It's a focus, and we'll explain that more as it comes, but we look forward to seeing you inside the Nexus.
Absolutely.